Hello, friends, and welcome back to VHS. I'm your host, Jesse. Today, we are kicking off our sequel season of the Hollywood Holdup with a look at one of my favorite sequels of all time, Back to the Future 2. Is the future tech still cool? Is Griff still, a cyborg? What is this guy? And most importantly, is it worth a rewatch in 2024? Well, let's find out. It's the Hollywood Holdup featuring Back to the Future 2, only on VHS. Two items of business quickly before we get rolling. Everyone say hey to YouTube's #1 producer, Craig. I'm not sure who gave him that title. Was it you? Also, this is your friendly neighborhood spoiler warning. We're going to cover Back to the Future 2 up and down. So, spoilers, be warned. Now let's jump into the categories.
Where? Back to the Future.
Category 1, Holy Trilogy. Back to the Future is, without exaggeration, one of the greatest film trilogies that we have. And I mean top of the top. I'm not talking about taking your 3 favorite Bond movies and grouping them together, or like only counting the good Alien movies and calling that a trilogy. No. Back to the Future is an honest-to-goodness 3-film cycle that fully completes its story arc. What trilogies even compare to that? Well, some might say the Godfather trilogy. But then no one actually thinks of Godfather 3 as a good movie. We just have to acknowledge that Godfather 1 and 2 are simply 2 of the greatest American films ever made. Some may say 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but in a trilogy, it really is. Hannibal Lecter? Sure, Silence of the Lambs is a masterpiece, but Hannibal and Red Dragon are iffy at best, and Red Dragon's just a remake of Michael Mann's far superior Manhunter from 1986. Trilogy of the Dead? Please. Night of the Living Dead plus Dawn and Day of the Dead are all amazing in their own right, but they're also disconnected zombie stories. What else? Terminator, Mighty Ducks, X-Men, Scream, Spider-Man, Evil Dead, The Matrix, oof. Any of the Star Wars trilogies, all the same problem, inconsistency across the trilogy. I know some of you are out there shouting, but Jesse, Part 3 is a Western, isn't that inconsistent? No. Part 3 not only pays off several bits that are established in Part 2, it has all of the same charm of the first 2. Same director, same actors, same pacing. It all feels like one piece. We just haven't seen them in the Old West yet, so people tend to call that inconsistent. And sure, the romantic subplot for Doc came out of nowhere for a lot of us young viewers. But it's okay, we got used to it, we wanted Doc to win, right? I mean, it's Mary Steenburgen. Are you mad at Mary Steenburgen? You're not mad at Mary Steenburgen. The closest contender we have for a better trilogy is probably Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, not The Hobbit. You gotta say they pretty much nailed it there. But for my money, I have to give Back to the Future the edge here because it wasn't adapted from a legendary book. It was one original idea that found success and was then developed almost flawlessly into a full, complete trilogy. Back to the Future for the win.
You better bring some smelly salts back with you.
Hey, you're the Doc.
Category 2, the dynamic duo. I'm not breaking any new ground here when I say the Back to the Future trilogy almost completely depends on the charisma, energy, and friendship of our main characters Marty and Doc, and the exemplary performances given by Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, respectively. But what some of you may still not know is that Michael J. Fox wasn't originally cast as Marty. That's right, the original casting choice for Marty was Eric Stoltz. Now, Eric Stoltz is certainly a fine actor, but he's also a serious actor. And while he was bringing depth to Marty in the several weeks that he played the part, he wasn't bringing the energy or the funny. Doc is manic. He's yelling. He's panicking. If Marty doesn't panic with him, Doc just seems like a senile old man shouting about time. There's nothing there for the audience to latch on to. Eventually, the film's director Robert Zemeckis had to admit this to himself and go with his hat in hand to his producer, Steven Spielberg, to admit the error in casting. No disrespect to Eric Stoltz, but this has got to be one of the great Hollywood firings of all time. Stoltz takes a bullet here so that Michael J. Fox, Robert Zemeckis, and the Back to the Future franchise as a whole could become the phenomenons that they were. Thanks, Eric. Bye, Eric. And now a quick nod to our third man coming off the bench, as it were. Every good hero needs a villain. And Marty must be a special kind of hero because he gets young Biff, middle-aged Biff, old Biff, alt Biff, Griff, and Buford. That's even leaving out sympathetic Biff, who really isn't a rival. He's just a pathetic car-washing piece of crap. So let's give an extra special shout out here to the otherworldly performance of Thomas F. Wilson and what he accomplished, not even just in the whole trilogy, I mean specifically in Back to the Future 2, where he has to cover Simp Biff, Young Biff, Old Biff, Alt Biff, and Griff, all in one movie, and they are all completely different characters. You are the man, Thomas F. Wilson, and we at VHS salute you.
Let me look at you.
Marty, you're acting like you haven't seen me in a week.
Category 3, Sliding Jennifers. You guys know there are two Jennifers, right? Claudia Wells in part 1 and Elizabeth Shue, part 2 and 3. You know that, right? But do you know why Claudia Wells was replaced? Elizabeth Shue had already filmed Karate Kid, Adventures in Babysitting, and Cocktail at this point, so it's easy to assume that the studio just wanted a more established actor to fill that role as they expanded into the trilogy. Au contraire, mon frère. It's actually a sad story, and the reason I want to highlight Claudia Wells here. Claudia left the franchise voluntarily to return home and care for her mother, who was dying from cancer at the time. What a choice. What a hard thing to do. To walk away from a hit franchise and all that could mean for her career. And you can only imagine what that meant to her mother at the time. Forgive a middle-aged man from getting a little verklempt here, but you're the man, Claudia Wells. We at VHS salute you. Now for a look at the lighter side of the Jennifer conundrum, we turn to a unique challenge that this casting switch presented for the filmmakers. Director Robert Zemeckis wanted to recap the end of part 1 at the beginning of part 2. But because we switched Jennifers and Jennifer factors so heavily into this sequence, well, they had to reshoot. But have you ever wondered if the end of part 1 actually lines up with the beginning of part 2? More importantly, both sequences show the DeLorean taking off for 2015 at the end. So it kind of begs the question, which DeLorean takes off first? And we're off. Marty opens the garage door. He's got a little bit of a lead here in part 2 as he gets closer to the truck, bangs his fist on it, and Jennifer appears. Ooh, Claudia Wells up top looking a lot better with real hair than Elizabeth Shue and whatever that thing is they strapped to her head. But we're getting pretty close here. We're in sync. We got a little bit of a lead as we turn to the parents in part 2. Coming back together for the kiss. The lightning flashes, and here comes the DeLorean crashing into the driveway. Wow, we are back in sync. This is a neck-and-neck race. Part 2 comes back out in front as Doc gets to them first, pulling the trash. He's got the same shot of the beer coming up. Here comes the beer. Here goes the beer. We are ahead in part 2 by a lot now. It's starting to pull apart as we have a conversation about your children, Marty. We got to get the future because they are super dumb and someone's got to help. Okay, well, no, we're pulling out. This is it. Back to the Future 2 is going to win. They're ahead. Oh, wait, we're tied now. It's all coming down to these last couple seconds. No, it's Biff. This middle-aged Biff. He comes and he distracts. We still haven't taken off in part 2, and part 1 wins it. Part 1 wins it. It's insane. I can't believe it. It was neck and neck all the way to the end, and old Biff ruined it for number 2.
You mean you have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
Category 4, Top 5 Gadgets. Anyone familiar with the Hollywood holdup knows that I love a countdown. And this is absolutely one of those. Number 5, Nikes with power laces. Who didn't want these as a kid? Not only were they sleek looking, they solved the biggest problem facing lazy children across the world. Don't nobody want to tie their own damn laces? Number 4, Doc's Knocker Outer. Doc bought this in the future, right? or made it with 2015 tech. He hasn't always had that on him, right? Like, he didn't use it on Marty at some point, did he? I'm suddenly having reservations about this May-December friendship. Number 3, ceiling fruit. Everybody talks about the pizza hydrator thing, but the kitchen gadget revelation for me has to be the ceiling fruit. Ceiling fruit makes eating fruit so cool, even Dum Marty Jr. can't resist.
Thank you.
Number 2, flying cars. The flying cars are the best example of an idea that sounds good to a kid and terrible to an adult. Used to be, drunk teenagers could only ram the side of your family vehicle. Now they can hit the top and the bottom too. And imagine being stuck behind an older driver puttering down the skyway while your hover battery is approaching empty. Bro, we're in the sky. We gotta go. Number 1, the hoverboard. Hey, Zemeckis. Yeah, you, filmmaker Robert Zemeckis. I'm talking to you, pal. You owe me a hoverboard. Not because I fell off one of those dumb rolly board things and hurt myself. I mean, you owe me a super real hoverboard like the ones you use in your film, bro. I know. You're all out there shouting at your computer screen, Jesse, hoverboards aren't real and they never were. They're just a movie prop. How can you be so dumb? Well, allow me to direct the court's attention to Exhibit A, the Back to the Future 2 behind-the-scenes featurette, in which director Robert Zemeckis says this.
The hoverboard is a board that hovers on magnetic energy, and it works just like a skateboard, except it doesn't have any wheels and you don't have to have any pavement to hover on. And they've been around for years. It's just that parents groups have not let the toy manufacturers make them, and we got our hands on some, and we put them in the movie.
He told us they were real, and I never, ever, ever forgot.
I'm back from the future.
The verdict. I am happy to report that Back to the Future 2 totally holds up. That being said, I would personally list Part 2 as the least of all the films in the trilogy. Mostly because it's the one that has to retread the 1955 storyline, which is the only time the trilogy doesn't feel super fresh. You know what I mean? It had to happen, but it's a little shrapnel that number 2 takes. It's okay, it's not its fault. Also, though, I will say, I think a lot of people pick number 2 over number 3 because of all the tech gadgets, the hoverboards. I get it. But let me say, to anyone who picks number 2 because of the hoverboard, watch part 3 again. The hoverboard is way more crucial to the actual success of the story than it is in part 2. Roll the clip. And here comes the thing. They're about to fall. They're definitely going to die. We're never going to see... Oh, they're on the thing. Look at them go. See, no hoverboard means no dock, which means no sweet, sweet time train. And there you have it. It's the Hollywood Holdup featuring Back to the Future 2. We're doing a little bit more of a truncated feel to these Hollywood holdups in Season 2. Please let us know in the comments if you're liking the shorter versions or you miss that extra 6 minutes we used to tack onto these things. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I also hope Marty has more kids that look like Jennifer. I hope you remember that there are no bad students, only bad teachers. And I sure hope Robert Zemeckis makes good on his hoverboard promise. Come back and find out. We live here, only on VHS. Take him home, Craig. Zemeckis!
Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Please like and subscribe to show your support, and go ahead and check out more of our videos as they release on the channel.